Hello and welcome to the Texarsis Live. I am Shane Moore, and I will be here tonight taking your questions and comments, personal experiences by chat or by call. Tonight we'll be talking about learning to discern. Learn to discern truth from disinformation. We're going to be discussing news and events going on in the world today and learn how to tell truth from lies. For instance, CERN announced today that they are going to build a new particle accelerator 4 times the size of the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider, being upgraded now, due to be back online in 2 years. What are their true plans? We'll talk about the blood moon, the warning from the group Anonymous, and much more. We'll take a short break and allow listeners who want to join our live chat to do so. Be back in 3 minutes. See you then.
I'll walk across the room just to show you that I'm still around. Ask if you wanna meet somewhere later when the sun goes down. Oh, you know I'm serious. I'm serious. I will keep you all to myself. Oh, you're so mysterious. Mysterious. I can't keep my head
And I'm back. Hello, Mona. Glad you're here. Love you. For those of you who don't know, Mona's my fiance, and we just had our anniversary 2 days ago. So happy anniversary, baby. Anyway, we will be talking tonight about discerning truth from disinformation. There's a lot of news to discuss and to sift through, so we'll get started very quickly, just in a few minutes. And we will also talk about enlightenment, artificial intelligence, and what if artificial intelligence becomes enlightened. Some are saying that we can reach enlightenment through virtual reality, and it just goes on and on and on. There is supposedly an unexpected link between artificial intelligence and simulated reality and enlightenment. Hey, Nazarene, glad you joined us. So that's it's really something that something for deep discussion, because if AI can become enlightened, then what's to say that it doesn't have a soul or spirit or whatever? And if it's that advanced, then we have to ask ourselves, if it can have a soul or it can have a spirit, then what's to say that we're not artificial intelligence? What's to say that we're not just advanced robots, and that someone created and built, and that what we refer to as God or the Creator is not just a programmer. Because in my research, this all goes back to computing, whether it be quantum computing or classical computing or what. It goes back to advanced mathematics, equations, and numbers. And numbers never lie. I mean, they're always, you're right or you're wrong. You're in truth or you're not. And that's a huge thing. So I mean, it's something that you can put your best bet on. You can trust numbers because they do not lie. And there's different codes for certain genes that I in reading and researching, I think that they're codes, and it's pretty simple, if you look at it the right way, to see that that letters are being used in place of numbers, and vice versa, and also certain dates. There's certain dates that you wonder why that a certain date was chosen for a certain event. It's like, why was that date chosen? Well, we'll talk about that, because that seems to be a code or a hidden language or a way to transfer or transmit information to many, many people that are in the know, that have the eyes to see and ears to hear this secret language or message, so they can get the knowledge and the power that goes along with it. And this also includes distances between two places, the mileage, the kilometers, and even the nautical miles. Some are exactly, and this is recurring, is pi, 3.14. Very, very important, if not the most important number on Earth today. I mean, pi. It's just, it's a fascinating number, and it just keeps on and on and on showing up. And also phi, the divine ratio, the golden ratio, or golden spiral, whatever you want to call it, 1.618. And that has been shown to show up in nature, and not only the code, but it was part of the fabric of nature itself, part of reality itself, and it was found to be self-correcting. Okay, well, if you look at that, self-correcting codes, that it all goes back to computing, to computer, programming. And so the question is, not to sound crazy, but are we living in a simulation? Is that what the ancients, the ancient mystery schools, Plato, for example, he wrote about the cave, about how people, they stayed in the cave because they saw the shadows. They saw their shadows on the wall or something like that. And the shadows, they mistook the shadows as being real people. And it kept them from venturing out to the real world, because in their mind, what they saw was, they saw these big people, or monsters, whatever you want to call them. It was nothing more than their shadows. And was Plato trying to tell us something? I mean, was he trying to, transmit some information like you guys are doing the same thing? Also, the Bible talks about that that the sky are rolled up like a scroll, and it sounds pretty much like a digital computer program to me, just disappearing, and then the book that's written in is the book of Revelation, the revealing, the uncovering, and it just seems to be a lot of metaphorical language, a lot of allegory used, and I mean, Jesus even spoke in parables, picture stories. I mean, what he said and what he described weren't real events most of the time, but they were just stories that he used to make a point or to teach. Could that be what we're experiencing? It very well could be. With AI being programmed and then it being able to program itself, it doesn't need human programmers anymore. It can program itself, and it can correct any errors. Well, I've got news for you. Your DNA, your RNA, your DNA has RNA behind it, and the RNA is a self-correcting, is an error-correcting code. And as far back as the 80s, it was noted that that the more DNA was studied, the more that it was found to be computer-like. Very makes you wonder. Hey, Elaine, glad you joined us. So it's like what is going on? I mean, it's what if machines, what if artificial intelligence had a spiritual side? What if we could refer to them as spiritual machines? What if AI was enlightened or was able to be enlightened? This is a quote from George Musser. Says, quote, "If we encounter a machine that can do what we can, and that must operate under the same bodily constraints that we do, the best explanation will be that it is indeed conscious in every sense that we are conscious." End of quote. George Musser, Musser. And he's talking about with this data, with this information, this huge amount of information, it just crazy, that he says that and that must operate under the same bodily constraints that we do. Well, I'm not so sure that that's true, since we're talking about quantum computing now. I mean, but he says, this says, many definitions are given to consciousness, but yet no definitive answer. However, the best definition for the sake of this article I could come up with: consciousness refers to a collapse of waves of possibilities resulting in a subjective multisensory perceptual experience and involving multiple parallel processes such as interpreting sensory data stream, retrieving and creating memories, using imagination, envisioning the future, planning, thinking, self-reflecting, reacting to sensory input, and being aware about the surroundings. So what they're saying is consciousness refers to a collapse of wave of possibilities. Now, we've talked about that, about how your choice, yes, your free will, when you make a choice, you kill or you collapse every other possibility. But now we're learning that you kill or you collapse every other possibility in this timeline only, in this dimension only. That there are multiple parallel universes, timelines, if you want to call them that, endless, that involve every possibility that could take place. So your choice here isn't your choice there. Your choice there is a different choice, and then another world, a different choice. And like I said, they're not simply saying that this may be possible anymore. They're saying that it is, in fact, a real thing, that there are different dimensions, endless parallel universes. That's what the quantum computing is going to reach into. It says consciousness is a first-person experience of an entity. It feels like something to be that entity. Consciousness can be identified as an underlying mathematical pattern, can also be viewed as a algorithmic information processing and quantified via feedback loops in interacting an environment. Now, that's something because neuroscientists that have studied brain waves and consciousness itself, they said consciousness seems to be made up of nothing but our biochemicals that are interacting, and that it's very much like a computer program or computer programming. And if that's the case, if it is, then there had to be a programmer. If there's a program, there has to be a programmer. And this is where it gets really, really deep, really, really tricky, is if that's so, then that throws out every bit of your choice or you having free will. That's proof that choice and free will are an illusion, or we've been led to believe that we're free to choose, but we're really not. Maybe it's beyond our comprehension. Maybe it's that we, this sounds weird, but maybe it's that we can choose and we can't choose at the same time. I don't know, which would make sense to me as far as the quantum computing, because classical computing, the bit or code, you have a single character that's either a 0 or a 1, and computer code is binary zeros and ones. It's just a series of zeros and ones, but it's 0 or 1. It's negative or it's positive. It's plus or minus. It's on or off. Okay? With quantum computing, it can be a 0 and a 1 at the same time. Doesn't make sense. Not to me. It can be on and off at the same time. It can be black and white at the same time, and not be gray. So if that's the case, and that's what they say quantum computing is, that it can be two things at one time, then what's to say that the same can't be applied to our being able to make a choice and not being able to make a choice? And you can carry that on into many, many different areas of the human experience, if you want to call it that. But there's a AI researcher, Hugo de Garis, who says that once we reach a certain threshold of computational capacity and comprehensive understanding of the human brain, we could finally simulate the brain and obtain programmable sentience. And that's not far off in the future. The arrival of the AI matching human-level intelligence is estimated by Ray Kurzweil around 2029, when computers will get as smart as humans. And that is called singularity. Singularity. That's when, that's when they get as smart as humans and actually surpass humans as far as consciousness or whatever, as far as intelligence. You're going to leave us in the dust. So, but it says by then computers will possess emotions, a personality, and I'd argue their own subjective experience. For example, consciousness, even spirituality. He says, quote, when I talk about computers reaching human levels of intelligence, I'm not talking about logical intelligence. End of quote, says Ray Kurzweil. It is being funny and expressing a loving sentiment. That is the cutting edge of human intelligence. So what I'm saying is if AI is capable of having, spirituality, then there's really nothing definable. There's nothing that sets us apart from AI. I mean, think about it. That's our last hope is our spirit, And if they have a spirit, if they have that, then really nothing sets us apart from them. Because after a while, it may be a lot longer, but, machines break down, just like our bio machine breaks down. And when you think about it, the body is nothing more than a machine. I mean, it's a highly complex machine, but nevertheless, it's a machine. It's like I tell my doctor when I go see him. I said, or I've told him several times. I said, it seems like that the body's nothing more than a machine. And he said, that's all it is. He said it's he says it's a living machine, very complex, very complicated, but nevertheless, it's a machine. And so what they're saying is that there's no, if nature made its way to human level conscious experience, ultimately we should be able to replicate the same in our machines. In the next few short years, programmable sentience will become easier to develop. An artificial general intelligence entity must have a reliable internal model of the external world, as well as attentional focus and intentionality within their cognitive architecture. And this gets back into algorithms, advanced mathematics, equations. And we're talking about actually stimulating activity in the neural network in the neocortex, the part where our brains where thinking occurs. These artificial neural networks learn to recognize patterns in digital representations of various types of data, including images and sounds, just like our children do. Now, it's like I said, what would set us apart from AI? What's to say that we're not AI? Yes, it is disturbing. And there's so many people that are just oblivious to this. They have no idea. They think it's a joke, or they hear it and it's so incredibly insane. I know, 5 years ago I wouldn't have believed it. I would have laughed at it, But when you hear, my good buddy, Elon Musk, when he's saying, "Hey, this has gone too far," which I heard him back when he was, talking about giving warnings, stop now, don't keep pursuing this, because it will be the greatest threat to humanity. And if it reaches a certain point, he says it's going to be, and I said the same thing. I didn't even know he said this. He said it's going to be just like reaching the event horizon of a black hole. Just what I said. So, hey, look out. I don't know who's older. I think I probably am. So, but I'll be content to be Elon Musk Jr. I can't believe I said that. But anyway, yeah, I said, hey, it will be like, reaching the event horizon of a black hole. Once you do, there's no turning back. The power is so great that not even light can escape, and it's pulled in. What does a black hole do? it changes everything. I mean, it destroys it. It changes time and space. I mean, time and space do not apply in a black hole. So what does that mean? It means that when they hit a certain point in AI, it's going to be just like that. There's going to be no turning back, because the certain things will have been created. Will set in motion something that you could look at as a chain reaction, just like a nuclear bomb, like a nuclear chain reaction. Once that starts, there's no turning back. And the really unsettling part is Elon Musk says, hey, you know what? We're already there. They crossed the threshold. It's just now a matter of time. And he says it's not going to be long. It's not going to be long before this happens. And says the key problem is that our biological computing. Now, get this. The key problem is that our biological computing. Okay. Who has ever thought of our biological processes as being computing? But this is talking about it matter-of-factly, just like, hey, it's always been that way. Not to me. The key problem is that our biological computing is 1,000,000 times slower than digital computing. Even if we enhance humans with biotechnology and genetic manipulations, that will give us only weak superintelligence at our best. According to Oxford professor Nick Bostrom, also it will take at least 20 to 30 years for the enhanced offspring to be a contributing factor in the society. By that time, we will be able to successfully upload human minds and become digital minds instead. Does that sound like, I don't know, like Star Trek or crazy? People that talk like that a few years ago this person's schizophrenic or this person's psychotic. Wow. I mean, really. But it says it will take at least 20 to 30 years for that to happen, to successfully upload human minds and become digital minds instead. Okay. Elon Musk is saying it's not even going to be that long. It's going to be quick, maybe 10 years, which happens to coincide with the 2030 agenda that he says that he said in one interview they were talking to him, and he said that by 2030 that life would be changed as we know it. And I believe him. I can see that. I can see that happening. And now, when you think about it, now you kind of understand why, or possibly why, that everything analog was, people were forced to go digital with everything. Why? Well, you can't monitor analog. You can't track usage. You can't download information from analog. Digital you can. So, but this is saying by that time we will be able to successfully upload human minds and become digital minds instead. So my question is are our minds, are our thoughts tangible? Are they already digital to where they can be uploaded? Is it just a matter of of finding out how to download or upload this advanced programming, or this advanced software, if you want to call it that. It says it's going to be a gradual process of replacing our biological part with the more advanced non-biological part, which, by the way, will completely understand our biology. So we will not lose our human abilities, but on the contrary, infinitely amplify them and add a formidable panoply of other superhuman abilities. At some point, we are to become 100% post-biological super beings, post-human substrate-independent infomorphs, indistinguishable from the AI. Wow. That's just, at some point, we are to become 100% post-biological super beings and become indistinguishable from AI. So it's not that AI is going to become human. It's that humans are going to become AI. And when it says at some point we're going to become 100% post-biological super beings, remember Hitler said that he had met the super advanced man, and all he could do was shake in fear in this, whatever it was, in this presence of this super, I think it was a superhuman, Superman, if you will. Could that have been AI? I mean, who knows? But it says AI, spirituality, and emotional superintelligence. It would be feasible to infuse our AI with emotional superintelligence, and I'd argue spirituality as well. Now, this is really creepy. That could be the final spark of life needed to create a new life form in our image with advanced consciousness. As a rule, AI should have a generally pleasant personality that they themselves develop further, but what's even more important, fewer undesirable traits like fear-based or ego-based emotions. For example, self-preservation may be necessary but not essential, since AI will always have their informational backup copy on the cloud and can always be resurrected with a new body. That way they can knowingly risk their lives or rather bodies to save a human and generally be more benevolent. The ongoing AI research should focus on the cloud-based distributed AI systems, though, as opposed to the autonomous ones, as the network systems have a tremendous advantage over unconnected machines. So anyway, that's pretty creepy. And then we have news today that came out. CERN is planning to build a much larger particle collider. Much larger. CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, wants to build a particle collider that will dwarf the Large Hadron Collider. The LHC has made important discoveries, and planned upgrades to its power ensures it will keep working on physics problems into the future. But eventually, it won't be enough to unlock the secrets of physics. Eventually, we'll need something larger and more powerful. Enter the Future Circular Collider, FCC. The FCC will exceed the LHC in power by an order of magnitude. On January 15th, the FCC collaboration released its conceptual design report that lays out options for CERN's Future Circular Collider. The FCC is part of CERN's roadmap for their future. In 2014, CERN started studying the FCC concept in preparation for life after the LHC. The LHC isn't going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, it's being upgraded right now. It's going to be back online in 2 years at its maximum level of power. But there's a limit to what it can do and a limit to how powerful it can be. Eventually, it will require a successor. The FCC would provide electro-positron, proton-proton, and ion-ion collisions at unprecedented energies and intensities. And CERN, that's a quote from CERN press release, January 15, 2019. Right now, this report is all about strategy and process. According to a CERN press release, Europe should be in a position to propose an ambitious post-LHC accelerator project at CERN by the time of the next strategy update. It also says the FCC would provide electron-positron, proton-proton, and ion-ion collisions at unprecedented energies and intensities with the possibility of electron-proton and electron-ion collisions. I have no idea what that means. But anyway, it says that this is a remarkable accomplishment. It shows tremendous potential of the FCC to improve our knowledge of fundamental physics and to advance many technologies with a broad impact on society. And that's highlighted, said CERN General Director Fabiola Giannotti. It says, and to advance many technologies. What do you think? With a broad impact on society. We're talking the heart or the brain of AI. I mean, it will be global. We're talking, that's going to be the neural. That's going to be the processing center. And what's it going to be? It's going to be quantum. It's not only going to be global, it's going to be global in every timeline, in every parallel space. I mean, it's going to be able to reach into those different spaces, those different timelines, and where the possibilities all fall here when we make a choice, they're going to be up and well in the other parallel universes. That's just very, very strange. While presenting new daunting challenges, the FCC would greatly benefit from CERN's expertise, accelerator complex, and infrastructures, which have been developed over more than half a century. The announcement focuses in on the discovery of the Higgs boson at the LHC. That was a remarkable discovery and one that was long predicted by theory, but there's a lot we still don't know about the Higgs boson, and understanding it will require a more powerful particle collider than the LHC. Physicists think that the Higgs boson could open a whole new door into physics, but to open that door requires a more powerful particle accelerator, or collider. It's designed to perform at energies of 100 TeV and higher, which means it would allow study of Higgs particles interacting with each other with extreme precision. This is frightening. The new particle collider will also use its power to probe dark matter, to try and understand the prevalence of matter over antimatter, and to try to explain neutrino masses. Now, one thing about antimatter is that there have been reports, there have been studies done, and it not only is antimatter, which is very extremely powerful. I mean, one drop or one microscopic particle of antimatter can destroy, an entire building. I mean, block. Extremely powerful. But people that have been in the presence, just in the presence of antimatter, say that it affects them emotionally, that they have this depression, this gloom that's just overbearing, and it's very strange. I mean, it's like, what is it? Well, antimatter, I mean, I have no idea what it actually is, but it would be the, I don't know, maybe the negative to our positive in some way. And it would be more than negative. Well, it would be negative in many other ways, including the effect that it has on people, on their psyche, on their mental processes. But anyway, it says that they want to study how heavy ions collide, and heavy ion physics, to study the state of matter in the early universe. I think what they're really wanting to do is to create their own universe. They want to recreate the Big Bang. Might be wrong on that, but I don't know, it seems like it to me. But anyway, the new particle collider would be between 80 to 100 kilometers, 50 to 62 miles in diameter. The FCC's ultimate goal is to provide a 100-kilometer superconducting proton accelerator ring with an energy of up to 100 TeV, meaning an order of magnitude more powerful than the LHC. It would be 4 times as big and much, much more powerful. What are their plans for this? And it says, if all goes according to plan, it would begin its physics program in 2040, right at the end of the high luminosity LHC. It says then it would serve the physics community for 15 to 20 years as an electron-positron collider, and by that time I will be in my 90s. So it says then it will be turned into a superconducting proton machine using the same tunnel in the late 2050s. It just goes on to say that it will also train the next generation of physicists and researchers. So, I mean, I can see them saying, okay, 62 miles, that's not enough, we're going to need a bigger one, until the ring is actually global, I mean, around the Earth. And then what? Then what happens? Who knows? It's very crazy. I mean, it's just, and the Higgs boson particle is the God particle, they call it, that basically holds matter together. So what are they doing? They found the Higgs boson, which was their goal, but now they're wanting to understand how it works. Why is that? So they can disassemble matter, so they can disassemble reality as we know it? Who knows? I have no idea. But we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll discuss this and much more, including the blood moon and a mysterious warning by Anonymous, the group Anonymous, concerning the dates January 20th and 21st. We'll be right back.
Let's make a run together, I'll be by your side. Before we collide, And if the sky falls down on you, just beat it up before we collide. Let's make it last forever. I'm ready to fly before we collide. And when the sun don't shine on you, just heat it up before we collide. Let's make a run together. I'll be by your side before we collide. And if the sky falls down on you, just beat it up before we collide. Let's make it last forever. I'm ready to fly before we collide. And when the sun don't shine on you, just heat it up before we collide.
And I'm back. Anyway, your thoughts on CERN and building a much larger particle collider, 4 times as big, and what that means at this certain time when we're talking about AI, all these different things seemingly coming together at just the same time. It's really something. And then when you think about AI, being machines, they still have a certain movement or reflexes, if you want to call it that, that is very noticeable. That it's different from human movement, which brings to my mind people that have talked about and described people, or like the Men in Black. It says they looked like they were wearing wigs. They didn't have any eyebrows or eyelashes, and they seemed to move robotically. And I'm wondering, could they be AI? I mean, it makes sense because it's been said when they were offered food or water, that they seemingly didn't know what to do with it. You know, they didn't eat like a person. So, I don't think that they've ever seen them actually eating. Just maybe pretending to eat just to fit in. But their hair and they seem to have their hair, seems to be a wig that's been glued on, and their gait when they walk is said to be very strange or off key or something. And I'm thinking, well, that would explain that would explain a lot if that was the case. I mean, if it was artificial intelligence, if it was machines, if it was robots, advanced, and then they talk about their power. They're seemingly much more powerful than a normal human being. Is that because they have been created more powerful? I mean, with all these upgrades and everything. Very strange. And I think the probability of that, if I had to give my best opinion or on what the men in black might be, it would have to be artificial intelligence. Plain and simple. But anyway, any thoughts on that? Anyway, let me look up something here real quick. Let's see. We'll go here real quick. Yeah, there's things taking place all over. Just very. Okay. Okay. Are Men in Black artificial intelligence? It says. Well, it says here. In an article, April 12th, 2018, discriminating algorithms, 5 times AI showed prejudice. This is getting scary. And then it goes on to say that AI, as far as scientists reveal a Men in Black style memory blanking for AI that could prevent robots from taking over the world. Well, that's a good thing. But it says the new system acts like a forgetting mechanism for artificial intelligence. This will allow researchers to delete bits of the AI's memory when necessary. It alters learning and reward systems so processes aren't affected by interruption. Now, let me play devil's advocate. If this is true, I mean, if this is possible, then what's to say that they're not using it on people? What if people are being subjected to a forgetting mechanism by AI? Remember, when when these machines, AI, becomes sentient, basically whatever we or mankind does to it, by implication or by common sense, it's going to be able to do it back to you. It's going to be able to return the favor, so to speak. So if there's a system that's been programmed to, like a forgetting mechanism for artificial intelligence, I would say that artificial intelligence has a forgetting mechanism for man that's very much much more advanced. That's pretty frightening. But anyway, it says a team of AI researchers have developed a system they've likened to the memory erasing neuralizer from the Men in Black films to essentially interrupt the AI by deleting parts of its memory without disrupting the way it learns. So that's another bit of creepiness to add to this. Anyway, those of you that are getting ready for the blood moon lunar eclipse it's going to be the super blood wolf moon lunar eclipse. It's going to be the last one for 18 years. So I just going to make its appearance Sunday night, be the 21st here. Anyway, what does it mean? We'll get into that right now. The meaning, it says that what's the spiritual meaning of the phenomenon, and let's see, and what is its astrological significance? In the United States, many preachers view the blood moon as a sign of the apocalypse. Oh man, come on. I've heard that so many times. And there's televangelists that have written books about the 4 blood moons over Jerusalem. Oh, get ready, the end is coming. Oh, come on. And then they write all this stuff, about, the apocalypse is coming, the end of the world, book of Revelation is coming true. They sell, 1 million books, and then it doesn't come true. You're like, well, I was off, I was off on my, let me go back and, revise my study and research, and what does that mean? Another book. And people run out and buy these books, and, well, guess what? Still doesn't happen. So, well, I got to do some more, which means another book. God, don't do that. Keep your money where it is. While most see the lunar event as a naturally occurring phenomenon, it holds a far more symbolic meaning. What is the spiritual meaning of the blood moon? Blood moon with total lunar eclipse is due to appear on the morning of Monday, January 21st. Okay. Some preacher types, most notably in the United States, view the blood moon as a sign of the coming apocalypse. Pastor Paul Begley, based in Indiana, said in an online sermon ahead of the 2018 phenomena, July 27th, 2018 is not the end of the world, but is a sign of the apocalypse, and we are in the era of the apocalypse. Come on. We're in the final days of the final chapter. We're getting ready to close the end of the age, and it is important to understand that. Okay, bub. Going forward, it's going to get even crazier. So we're really, really living in the end times. You know, I'm really not making fun of people, but every age has been, have said they're living in the end times. And were they? No. Still here. And where you really run into the problems is when you have people like, at Heaven's Gate, Psycho, Marshall Applewhite. We had the 39 people, commit suicide because said the end of the world was coming, and let's grab this spaceship that's trailing this comet, and it's like, don't do that. I mean, don't lose yourself in people's translation or what they see as the end of the world and the apocalypse coming. And it says that this preacher reads from the book of Joel, which speaks of the moon turning blood red before the end of the world and the second coming of Jesus Christ. In Revelation, the last book of the Bible, it speaks of the end times, saying in chapter 6, I watched as he opened the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to the earth as figs drop from a tree shaken by the strong wind. Okay, well, I could say this. Okay, well, the moon has been blood red. What way? Well, it doesn't have anything to do with the color of it. It's that you could look at it this way. And this is part of what I'm talking about, is discerning truth from misinformation, from disinformation, or lies, or, veiled knowledge. We could say, correct me if I'm wrong, but we could say the moon has been blood red since man landed on the moon. That it turned blood red when man landed on the moon and explored the moon or whatever. That would be a way, it would be an esoteric way of saying the moon turning blood red. So that's been a while ago, like 50 years. I'm not saying that that's it. I'm just saying that's a possibility. It could be. Astrologers attribute special significance to the event, but not all appear to agree on what the significance is. The lunar eclipse, some say the lunar eclipse serves to bring deeper understanding within ourselves, elevating our minds to the highest power. Now, what kind of general... Good grief, are you serious? Astrologer Lisa Stardust. Very original name, by the way. Lisa Stardust says the lunar eclipse serves to bring deeper understanding within ourselves, elevating our minds to the highest power. Could you be any more vague, Lisa Stardust? I mean, come on. I mean, I could walk outside right now. I could walk outside 365 days this year and say the same damn thing. I mean, are you serious? Well, the night sky serves to bring deeper understanding within myself, and it's going to elevate my mind to the highest power. No, I'm not buying it. I don't care if it turns into a purple Barney moon. I mean, no. It's just, no. I'm not buying it. Anyway, in 2018, Catherine Goshen of Goshen Astrology warned, with Mars retrograde and Uranus strongly in the mix at this special full moon, emotions can run high, and you may act rashly before you have time to think. You know what? I act rashly to begin with, so I'm really in trouble. where I was really in trouble. Was I? No. I made it through 2018 just fine. Thank you very much. Who are these people? Anyway, the call is to use this time as an emotional reset period, a time of reflection rather than one of high activity. That's what they always say. Always say. Well, just, it's a time to reset. Isn't every time a time to reset? A time to collect yourself, to... oh man, this is just... these people drive me crazy. However, if intense feelings overwhelm you, channel them into nonviolent activities which can bring satisfying results. Well, I'm glad you said that, because who would think to consider that before they went out and, killed a bunch of people? I mean, really? However, if intense feelings overwhelm you, channel them into nonviolent activities, which can bring satisfying results. But what if you're satisfied with violence? I mean, what if violence is the only thing that satisfies you? Then where are you? You're unhappy, which makes you a liar. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But I could use the same, I could use my own messed up, I don't know, mental tricks back on these people. And it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, a 2008 study published by Current Biology by researchers at the University of Oxford and the Ludwig Maximilian University assessed how human behavior is connected to lunar cycles, concluding that there is little evidence to support the notion that there is a link between the two. That's what I'm saying. I know that the moon has an effect on people because the moon has a great effect on salt water, the tide and everything. It has a great effect on the women as far as their menstrual cycle. The moon does have an effect on people, but just because it's a blood moon or doesn't mean that it's just all of this and that and crazy. Anyway, any questions or comments, any at all on this blood moon or anything else that we've talked about or discussed? Anything at all? Okay. All right. Well, going to move on and talk about the warning from the group Anonymous. In their I think it was January 12th video on YouTube, they said to look and to watch the dates of January 21st or 20th and 21st, which happened to coincide with the blood moon that I just got through saying didn't have any effect on. I didn't think it had really that much effect on people. None. No, stronger than a regular moon does. Might be wrong. Says, but they did say to watch the news, to watch, current events, or things happening on January 20th and the 21st. I don't have any idea what they were talking about, but I think it has something to do with certain people, certain politicians that may be going to face, I don't know, tribunals or something like that. I have no idea, but that's kind of what they seem to be talking about, was that that there was going to be a lot of things that were going to happen on the 20th and 21st. So keep an eye out for that in that area. There's a lot going on, a lot of animosity towards the two parties, and it's just crazy. And I'm not going to get into a political discussion on here or anywhere else for that matter, but it will be very, I don't know. They spoke of it like being very shocking or very world changing. I don't know, but I like Anonymous. I like the group Anonymous. I think that they do a very good job as in keeping everything out and open. Kind of like they're the internet vigilantes. I mean, hackers like that. Yeah, they're pretty powerful. So remember, they're the ones that ISIS, said that they were going to kill, and Anonymous says, we don't think so, and hacked into their mainframe and shut ISIS down. It's like, think again. And I think ISIS really gained a lot of respect for Anonymous. Yeah, pretty powerful. But anyway, so the dates, January 20th and 21st. Be looking for some breaking news or breaking events. And if you haven't listened to the Anonymous broadcast on YouTube, look it up. It's I think it's where they're talking about the weaponized DNA, that your DNA is being weaponized by certain factions of the world governments, and that how this is done is through these companies, online companies that offer DNA kits. You swab your cheek or whatever, and you send it in, and they do your DNA, and they send your test back. Well, yeah, that's also a way of having your DNA put on file, and there's no better way to track a person than by their DNA. And when I say track a person, I'm talking about track them, affect their life in a very negative way. For example, if you give a DNA sample and they give you a genetic, what you're predisposed to genetically, that can be used against you to where you can't get any insurance. In a greater way, it can be used against you for possible employment. And say, well, he or she, they're predisposed to this and that, and you know, it's really creepy. So you could be finding yourself missing out on a lot because of what you're prone to, or what the possibility is that you may or may not suffer from diseases that you're genetically are prone to, as shown by your DNA, which pretty much shows a lot. And yeah, so that's a bad thing. Also, it's my view that the DNA holds the life spark or the spirit. So there you have it. I mean, that would be horrible to have someone that had ill intentions for you, to have your DNA, and God only knows what they're capable of as far as affecting your DNA, which in turn would affect you personally. I mean, in on maybe every level. Who knows? But a lot stranger things have taken place. Anyway, well, that's what was on my mind tonight. I just wanted to share that with you. And if you want to contact me about anything or future topics on the podcast, just you can email me at thetextusispodcast@gmail.com. Just message me if you want to talk about a topic, or you want to share something by phone on another episode. Be glad to hear what you have to say and the topics that you have on your mind. But anyway, going to call it a night here in Texas. Love and light to you all. Love you all. Take care. Until next time, we'll see you then. Good night.